When discussing ancient Roman history, all the dates and events can seem very far removed from us, and counting backwards doesn't make things any easier. So as we begin a new decade, let's reflect on the past with a thought experiment and ask, what if we made the year 1 BC the year 2000 AD, and applied the dates of the 20th century AD to the 1st century BC? The year is 2020, and Emperor Tiberius reigns in Rome at the age of 60. Tiberius was adopted into the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which traces its lineage to Julius Caesar, who was born on July 12, 1901. Back in 1894, his uncle Marius was elected consul and instituted the famous Marian military reforms. The next year, in 1895, Marcus Tullius Cicero and Pompey Magnus were born. Also in 1895, the Jugurthine War occurred, resulting in the imprisonment of the Numidian king Jugurtha. In 1910, the Social War began, wherein the Italian allies, or Socii, of Rome, who were often conscripted in wartime and taxed heavily, fought against Rome for the same rights as Roman citizens and political representation in the capital. In 1913, Sulla marched on Rome with 6 legions, an unprecedented event, being the first general in history to cross the Pomerium. Marius fought Sulla in resistance, but lost and escaped the city. Marcus Brutus was born in 1916, and his future rival Mark Antony was born 2 years later in 1918. In 1919, Sulla was named dictator and resigned his dictatorship the next year in 1920. In 1930, Spartacus was killed in the Third Servile War. In 1935, Pompey Magnus defeated the last of the Cilician pirates. Pompey conquered Jerusalem in 1938. In the same year, Cicero was elected consul, and Catiline and his conspirators were executed. Octavian was also born this year. In 1939, Pompey built the Curia Pompeia. The first triumvirate was established in 1941 between Pompey, consul Julius Caesar, and censor Crassus. Caesar stopped the Helvetii migration in 1943, beginning the Gallic Wars. Crassus was killed by the Parthians in 1948. In 1949, Caesar conquered Vercingetorix at the Battle of Alesia, and in 1951 defeated the last of the Gaulish resistance. On January 10, 1952, Caesar crossed the Rubicon into Italy with the 13th Legion, beginning the Civil Wars. This was a major turning point in history. This is the event that will spell the end for the Roman Republic and foretell the Roman Empire. Pompey died the same year in Egypt, where Caesar met Cleopatra. Caesar began the Basilica Julia in 1955, and in 1956 he built the Forum Iulium. On March 15, 1957, Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of conspirators, among whom his close friend Brutus, as well as Senator Cassius. The following year, in 1958, the second triumvirate was formed by Caesar's heir Octavian, along with Mark Antony and Lepidus. Cicero died shortly thereafter. In 1959, Antony and Octavian defeated Brutus and Cassius at the Battle of Philippi. Livia married Octavian in 1963. In 1968, Antony had taken control of the East from Alexandria with his consort Cleopatra, and the alliance with Octavian through the Second Triumvirate had expired. This culminated in the Battle of Actium in 1970, where Octavian defeated Antony and Cleopatra, who died soon after, leaving Octavian the sole first man in Rome. Octavian conquered Ptolemaic Egypt in 1971, ending the Hellenistic period started by Alexander the Great in 1667. Octavian dedicated the Templum Divi Iulii to his adoptive father, Julius Caesar, in 1972. In 1974, the Senate granted Octavian overarching power whereupon he took the title Augustus and Princeps, the first Roman emperor. Octavian Augustus married his daughter Julia to Marcellus in 1976, but Marcellus died 2 years later in 1978. In 1980, Augustus married Julia to his friend and trusted general Agrippa. Augustus adopted as his heirs Julia's and Agrippa's sons, Gaius Caesar and Lucius Caesar, in 1984. Agrippa died in 1989, and Augustus married Julia to his stepson Tiberius, the son of Livia, the next year. The Germanic Wars also began in 1989 as Roman forces crossed the Rhine. The Ara Pacis was consecrated in 1992. In 1999, Augustus was acclaimed Pater Patriae, Father of the Country, by the Senate, and inaugurated the Forum Augusti. Later that year, the emperor convicted his daughter Julia of adultery and treason, annulled her marriage to Tiberius, and exiled her and her mother, Scribonia. In 2002, Lucius Caesar died of a sudden illness, as did Gaius Caesar in 2004. That same year, he adopted his stepson Tiberius as his new heir. Augustus deposed King Herod in 2006 and established the province of Judea. The poet Ovid was exiled to Tomis in Dacia in 2008, where he died 10 years later in 2018. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest occurred in 2009, wherein 3 legions were ambushed and destroyed. In 2013, Tiberius was granted equal power with Augustus. On August 19, 2014, Augustus died. Tiberius became the second Roman emperor and made Sejanus the commander of the Praetorian Guard. In 2016, Tiberius's adoptive son Germanicus defeated German forces at the Battle of the Weser River. Germanicus died last year, on October 10, 2019, possibly having been poisoned on Tiberius's orders. And now, in early 2020, the Emperor Tiberius is under investigation for the death of Germanicus. I hope you enjoyed this thought experiment and found it a useful way to connect with history in a more personal way. What are some other events in this translated history that I did not cover? And when would they have occurred in my timeline? Leave your ideas below. And would you like me to cover another period of ancient history in this manner? Let me know in the comments. This video is dedicated to my father, Robert Ranieri, whose birthday is today, January 10th. The same day Julius Caesar took the 13th Legion across the Rubicon and changed history forever. My father encouraged me to pursue my interests in classical history and language from an early age, and his artwork in particular always excited my imagination, and still does. You can visit my father's website at robertranieri.com and his YouTube channel through the link in the description. His style is inspired principally by Roman art and architecture, and forms an abstract passage to the ancient world, along with the new. Happy birthday, Papa!